Okay, there we go. Slideshow.
Okay, so thank you all so much for tuning into our presentation. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about a show called Avatar: The Last Airbender and how some lessons that can be taken from that show can be applied to your college experience. So we're going to call this presentation Advice from Your Uncle Irohs, which we'll get into a little bit later into the presentation.
All right, so starting off, we're going to introduce ourselves. So my name is Sarah Spigelmyer. I am a senior chemistry major. Just a few things I'm involved in. I'm a member of the Norse Leadership Society. I'm a peer coach in Norse advising. I'm a member of Greek Life, and I do undergraduate research in the chemistry department.
All right. Hi, I'm Hannah Szefi. I am a sophomore data science major. Some of my involvement is also Norse Leadership Society. I am in the Delta Zeta sorority as a 2020 orientation leader, and I'm also in the honors program.
Hello, I'm Grant Warren. I'm a junior and a less impressive social work major. My involvement includes Norse Leadership Society. I recently joined the Phi Delta Theta fraternity, and I've been an orientation leader for 2 years in a row.
All right, so what is Avatar: The Last Airbender? This is an important question, especially if you have never seen the show before. So Avatar it was an animated show that came out in the early 2000s, and it was set in a world where there are 4 elements, and there are 4 nations for each respective element, and each nation could bend that element, but the Avatar could bend all 4 elements, and he's meant to be like the peacekeeper of the world. So the show is about the Avatar Aang, who you can see in the middle, and it's about him finding his group of people and the obstacles that they face as Aang, the main character, is training to be a fully developed Avatar and defeating like the enemies throughout the show.
So another really important question that we have is, who is Uncle Iroh? So you saw on the first slide, if you couldn't tell, we had our faces each on a different Uncle Iroh. So essentially Uncle Iroh, and kind of how the title ties into this presentation, is that Uncle Iroh is kind of seen as a mentor, especially mentor to Zuko and to other members of Team Avatar. He's seen as someone who's very intelligent. He knows a lot of things about a lot of different things. And he almost seems like, I don't know, he just knows a lot of stuff, right? So about Avatar and about the world of Avatar. And so kind of how that compares to us is that, we're college students. We understand what it takes to be a college student and how to be successful. So in a way, we're the Uncle Irohs of NKU, if you really think about it. So so we're going to be discussing, some life lessons that are talked about or, discussed in Avatar and how those can connect to your success in college. So the first one is that family is more than blood. So you can see some of these pictures that we have here are from like the first couple of episodes of Avatar. And, after Aang has slept for 100 years in ice, he comes to find out that his whole air nomad nation was taken out by the Fire Nation. And so his mentor, Monk Gyatso, he finds him dead. And so he has no family is there anymore. And he feels like he has no one. Luckily though, he finds, well, and you see him struggle with this, right? Like a lot. You see him struggle with the grief, the loss, and everything. But he finds comfort in his 2 friends, Katara and Sokka, and they very quickly become his family. And this very much relates, to being in college. So you're going to be away from your family for the first time. So you're going to want to find, your family away from your family. I know for me, my family is 7 hours away. So I want to make sure that, I have my NKU family. And I've been able to find that, and they've been an incredible support system. So it's very, very important for college success.
All right, so the next lesson that you can definitely take from Avatar: The Last Airbender is just finding your own path in life. So, as the show progresses, we see a lot of characters who kind of have to take it upon themselves to figure out a couple things about, who they are and what they want to do in life. And, you can see down in the corner, you see Katara. She is learning how to waterbend. At first, this was definitely an issue for her, though, and there were a lot of people who stood in her way and tried to tell her that she couldn't do it because she was a girl. So she had to find other ways to learn waterbending, whether that was trying to teach herself or learning from other students who didn't share that mindset. But at the end of the day, she actually becomes a really, really good waterbender, a master. So she actually ends up teaching the Avatar, but in the beginning of the show, no one was willing to teach her in the first place. So that's one example of kind of finding your own path. And then on the right, you see Prince Zuko. He's, cutting off his own hair as like a example of cutting ties with his own family. He kind of discovers that they're not everything that he thought that they were. As he kind of travels around the world and meets new people and kind of gains a new mindset, he realizes that living in the Fire Nation is not everything that he thought it was going to be or everything that he thought it was. I think a lot of people can relate to either Katara or Prince Zuko. Maybe as an individual, people have told you that you're not capable of doing something for whatever reason, or you have family members who growing up, they said or did some things that you didn't necessarily realize you didn't agree with until you came to school. So to relate that to coming to college and staying in the show, these characters go through a huge development over the course of a year. And your college experience should, roughly be about 4 or 5 years. There's a lot to learn in that amount of time. But as you go through this show, you kind of grow with them. And that's something that can be applied to your college experience as well. You grow with your friends and you grow through the experiences that you have. It's up to you to find that path.
Right. So another important lesson that definitely applies to the college experience is that mentors can help you on your journey. So you see here, Aang's 4 mentors that he had that helped train him in his different bending. He had Monkey Gyatso, Katara, Toph, and Zuko. And so, after when he came out of the ice after 100 years, he had a lot to learn. He had to master all 4 elements. And so he had to look to somebody who had that ability to be able to teach him, and they had to be masters themselves. So, when you're going into college, you're not going to know everything you need to know right offhand. You're going to want to learn from others that have had those experiences and, have those tools to help you be successful. So, seek out those resources and utilize people that can be a mentor to you and take advantage of that, because they want to help you. Your professors want to help you, and take advantage of that because they're going to get a lot out of it too. And they want to see you walk across that stage at graduation. So.
All right, our next lesson that you can take from Avatar: The Last Airbender is to let your friends help you in times of need. You see often throughout the show, Aang often feels like he has to save the world on his own, and that by doing that, he's keeping his friends and everybody safe. He denies being helped, especially like whenever he's seriously injured. Like he goes off on his own after a severe injury and then realizes that he does need his friends if he's going to continue on with the mission. And all of their plans and missions are the most successful when they all work together to complete the task. And this is something that you can apply to your college life, because when you do find your support system at NKU, you can let them carry some of your weight when you need it. And if you are struggling, your friends will always be there for you. And there are also plenty of resources on campus that can help you as well when you're in times of need. All right, so next we have that everybody's talents are useful. You see multiple times throughout the show, every character has at least one instance where their strengths are not applicable in their situations. For example, Sokka doesn't have the ability to bend any of the elements. And then you see Katara, the waterbender, getting stuck in the desert where she doesn't have any water. And then you also see Toph in a metal cage where there's not any earth around her. But they all look at things at a different angle and find ways to work around that to strengthen themselves. So you see Sokka become really good at strategy and making plans for the missions. And then you see Katara using the last little bit of her bending water to make sure that everybody in the gang is hydrated so that they can make it out of the desert. And then you also see Toph literally create her own form of bending to get out of her metal cage. And this is applicable to college because sometimes you may have an off day or something that you can usually rely on isn't there, and you're going to have to work and look at things at different angles and be creative to work out of those situations and come out of those situations stronger than you were before.
Okay, so similarly to how Hannah was talking about in the last slide, that sometimes things don't necessarily go your way and you kind of have to be adaptable and work through those things. One of those lessons that can be learned is overcoming adversity. So there are a lot of characters in the show that I think have overcome adversity in one way or another. But the main example that came to my mind immediately was Toph Beifong. She is a blind character in the show, and whenever we first meet her, you realize that she's not everything that she seems. She gives this demeanor that she's like, not necessarily capable of doing things that other people can do, or she's not really capable of protecting herself or others. But as we meet her and as the story progresses, you realize that she is an extremely talented earthbender, and although she can't see, she has no trouble navigating the world because she can feel through vibrations and stuff like that. So kind of how Hannah said in the last slide, she had to work past not being able to see and use the talents that she had to kind of navigate the world. I think that's something that can be applied to college as well. Maybe there's something that you're not super good at. Me personally, like I'm not super good at statistics, but there are, programs that your professors will have you use or things like that that kind of help you, solve your problems, but just in a different way. And through your college experience, these are all things like that will happen repeatedly. Something will definitely not go the way that you thought it was going to, and you might have had a plan in the first place. But then at the end of the day, that just didn't come through, and that's okay. So whenever we're overcoming adversity in a college setting, something might seem like all the odds are stacked against you, but if you use your resources like we talked about in a previous slide, or if you use your talents, or if you have your friends help you or your mentors, you can overcome adversity. I think that coming to college in general, for a lot of people, that is overcoming adversity. There are so many people that think that, they would never be in a position like you and I are. So it's really important to just kind of rely on the networks and, the resources that we mentioned before to overcome this adversity. And I think that, this example in the show, like I said, is one of many. But it's definitely one that's worth acknowledging and one that's, worth keeping in mind whenever you're moving forward next time you have a problem.
Okay, so that concludes the life lessons that we are talking about today. But even though we only talked about a few, there are so many lessons from Avatar that you can take to apply to your life, especially in college, as well as like really any other TV show that you can watch. And it's also just a really good TV show, so you should watch it anyways.
And thank you guys for tuning in. We hope that you all learned something new.
Yes, thank you.